I grew up in the flood risk zone on the island Hoeksewaard in Zuid-Holland. The island has been gradually embanked, resulting in a total of 270 kilometers of dikes all across the island. I walked the 70 kilometer of the dike that forms the dike ring, the main protection from the surrounding rivers. And as I made my way around the island, slowly, step by step, I started to notice changes, sometimes very obvious, sometimes more subtle. They show where water was turned into land, but the change of the dike itself is not so obvious. Each time the dike is reinforced, the new dike swallows up the old one, leaving no trace of the past. Until you inspect the houses along the dike more carefully. Doors and windows are at strange heights or in odd locations. Surely that was not intended. Did the dike look different before? Was it perhaps lower, or not there at all? The next time the dike has to be raised, it would leave no space for the current houses, and they will have to be destroyed. The identity of the landscape forever changed, history lost. But I believe it can be different. If we go back to 1605, the difference is obvious. This is when the dike was built and the water was drained out to create land to grow flax. The village Schavendeel is still famous for its long-lost production and trade of flax products, such as cloth, yarn and rope. Back then, time moved slow and big changes did not occur. Until 1908, when the polder had to make way for the growing population of the small village. Along the dike, around 35 houses are built. Back then, when the dike was only a mere 80 centimeters high, it was a more accessible element in the landscape, a connection between the house and the water, rather than a border. In 1916, in response to the rising water levels, the dike is raised to 2.5 meters to protect the people that have made their home behind it. The bigger surface of the dike gets utilized to feed livestock. The dike becomes a real border now, and the connection to the water is lost. "37 years later, in 1953, the river is at an unprecedented height. People work through the night. They fill potato bags with sand to reinforce the dike. They succeed to keep the dike intact, but are surprised by the water as it gushes in from the other side. Nearly 80% of the island is flooded. Dikes and houses are damaged. Lives are lost. This flood causes another increase in the dike. The people whose houses remain adapted to the new situation. The dike does not only block view, but it also takes away light, and so people extend the top of their house and move their living area upstairs. Their front door is moved as the dike has taken over their street. Since then, the dike has barely been touched. As of today, it functions as a walking path that is mainly used by dog walkers. The houses that remain are as little as 1.3 meters from the dike's edge. The next time the dike is raised, the house changes along with it. It reaches onto the dike, creating a new dynamic between the residents and the dike, a lifestyle that is more integrated with it. The dike becomes a shared outdoor space, shared between the other residents of the reinvented dike street and with the people using the dike for walks. If we look at the inside of the house, we can see that the dike literally invades it, and it becomes part of the interior. The sea level keeps rising, and the ground keeps depleting. And as the dike moves up, along with the water, so does the house, reaching up higher in order to look out over the dike once again. The element that reached onto the dike before now reaches through it, towards the water. The water for the house is taken directly from the river, and is filtered through the many layers of the dike. Again, the dike has to be raised to protect the people behind it, and the next extension is added. More of the house, its interior, gets invaded. Food is produced all around the house. The bubble-like shape blocks the heat from the burning hot sun and keeps it nice and cool inside, while the ribbons turn the heat into electricity. 2 levitating platforms with 360 views of the surroundings top off the dike house of the future.